Breaking NBA news, the Nuggets have fired head coach Michael Malone and general manager Calvin Booth, according to ESPN. This comes not even 2 full seasons after Malone led the Nuggets to their first and only NBA championship. And right now the Nuggets are right there in the middle of a crowded playoff race in the West. They've lost 4 straight games, but still hold the 4th seed, but only a half game out of potentially falling all the way into the play-in tournament. Malone coached the Nuggets for nearly 10 seasons. He won almost 60% of his games with 6 playoff appearances. ESPN reports that David Adelman is going to take over as interim coach. David Adelman, the son of Rick Adelman, longtime coach of the Portland Trail Blazers. Let's bring in John Gonzales as we react to this news. Most people just sitting there with their mouths agape. There's no way anybody saw this coming outside of Denver, did they?
Same. I found out about this the way everybody else did, where all of a sudden there was a push alert and everybody was kind of blown away by this. I mean, we were just, what, a week or so and change removed from the Grizzlies firing Taylor Jenkins, and everybody went, wow, that's incredible. That's insane. Why would they do this? They're only the 2nd team in NBA history to have a winning record and fire their coach after more than 70 games. Well, now we have 3, and this one is much more staggering and much more surprising, Chris. I mean, this is a team in the Nuggets that has a chance, along with, I don't know, 4 or 5 other teams in the Western Conference, to come out of the West. Yes, it's been an uneven year, but when you have Nikola Jokic, you have a chance to come out of the West and win potentially an NBA championship. So to destabilize the team this close to the playoffs makes very little sense to me.
Yeah, and you're right there competing for potentially home court advantage in the first round or falling all the way to the play-in game. Is this just a Hail Mary to try to shake this team back into the championship team we saw from 2 years ago?
Yeah, I don't know what this is. I don't know if it's a Hail Mary. I think it's more like an act of desperation. I mean, maybe you could put this on Calvin Booth, but I have a hard time understanding why they're laying this on Mike Malone as well. Mike Malone, it's not Mike Malone's fault that Jamal Murray has had a hamstring injury flare up and he's been in and out of the lineup and he's been inconsistent for not just this season, but really for the last 2 seasons. Didn't have a good postseason outside of a couple of shots last year. And this year he was starting to find his way before the injury flared up. Not Mike Malone's fault that Michael Porter Jr. hasn't lived up to his expectations and hasn't taken that next leap into becoming an all-star level caliber player. It's not Mike Malone's fault that outside of Nikola Jokic, they don't have any other all-stars, or that they let Kentavious Caldwell-Pope go, or that they were forced into putting Christian Brown from a reserve role on the bench into the starting lineup, or that Russell Westbrook went from being just maybe an add-on piece in the offseason to a guy who was playing a critical role. It makes very little sense to me that they've decided to get rid of not just Calvin Booth, but also Michael Malone.
You mentioned the Grizzlies and what they did in firing Taylor Jenkins, a head coach with a winning record so late into the season. What do you make of this sudden shift that these NBA teams are making late in the year?
Yeah, it's very curious. I mean, in the case of the Grizzlies, Zach Kleiman decided for whatever reason that he wanted to move on from Taylor Jenkins. I said, and my podcast partner, Bill Reiter, our NBA insider, said on the Beyond the Arc podcast, hey, this doesn't make a ton of sense. If you decided that you wanted to move on from Taylor Jenkins, why not just do it after the postseason? For one, you're so close to the playoffs that this is really disruptive. And for two, if you get bounced out of the first round of the playoffs or the second round of the playoffs, then you're going to be looking for a scapegoat. You've got a convenient one. Now, all of a sudden, everybody's got their eyes on you. With respect to the Nuggets, it makes even less sense than what the Grizzlies did because, as you noted, Chris, this is a team that isn't even 2 years removed from winning an NBA championship. Now you are less than a week away from the playoffs proper starting, less than a week from the play-in starting, and who knows, the Nuggets could very well be in the play-in. They're closer to the play-in than they are to the 3 seed right now. So, yeah, for me, it's very hard for me to fathom what ownership was doing on that level, where they just looked around and decided, yeah, let's detonate this thing mere moments from the postseason. A
lot to talk about on the next Beyond the Arc podcast with John Gonzales and Bill Reiter. John, thank you so much hopping on here as we try to make sense of the news out of Denver. With 3 games remaining in their regular season, the Nuggets have fired head coach Michael Malone and general manager Calvin Booth. They are back in action tomorrow night in Sacramento against the Kings, then home against the Grizzlies, who did pretty much this very same thing a week ago, firing their head coach with a winning record. And then they'll finish up the regular season Sunday in Houston, currently the 4 seed, but only a half game up on a couple teams that are in the play-in tournament right now.